reincarnated as a trashy woman's father. My first move was to slap my daughter's male best friend and hand my son-in-law a 100M trek, all because this was a cliché urban web novel. The male lead in the book is my current son-in-law, Shao-Chi, a destiny-chosen man, killed by his ex-wife, and the one responsible for torturing him was none other than my precious daughter, Lin Mengyao, brainless, gold-digging, and utterly clueless. She was being completely wrapped around the finger by a green tea boy, Gu Yifan. Not only did she frantically suppress her own husband, Shao-Chi, for his sake, teamed up with outsiders and nearly bankrupted my company. What's most fucked up is that the original host was a senile old fool. His wife died early, so he spoiled his daughter, blindly obeying that pretty boy Gu Yifan, and even personally joined in to help them suppress Shao-Chi. You could say that of all the grievances Shao-Chi suffered from his ex-wife were thanks to his father-in-law. When I first transmigrated over, I was running around like a headless chicken. With a massive empire dumped on me, I couldn't close my eyes for days and nights. No wonder. Before crossing over, I was just a regular senior executive at a big company, a destined 996 slave. I had never handled a conglomerate as huge as the original hosts. I had to frantically cram knowledge all of a sudden. Luckily, the original hosts' memories were largely preserved, saving the Lin group from. In that exact gap, the male leads suffered a few more months of hardship, though the plot is just starting. Honestly, I have zero interest in saving my daughter. I just need a successor for the group. Dump this business empire onto him and retire early. Right now, through the restaurant's huge floor-to-ceiling glass windows, I instantly spotted Lin Mengyao's arrogant face. Sitting opposite her was her husband, Shao-Chi. Based on the original book's description and my observations over the past few months, he's a good kid with a clean past and a resilient personality. Too bad my daughter is blind, and the original host was blind too. The next second, she unhesitatingly splashed a cup of lemonade right into Shao-Chi's face. Droplets slid down his jawline. He just lowered his gaze and clenched his fists. Without a word, a slick pretty boy leaned over, considerately handing him a tissue, while hypocritically trying to coax Mengyao. Don't be mad, talk nicely. Gu Yifan, I don't get it. Why do men act like green tea bitches? Watching my daughter act like a total idiot being played for a fool, my head was throbbing. I brought no assistance and pushed the door alone. The high-end restaurant was so quiet you could hear cutlery clattering. Seeing me, Lin Mengyao acted like she'd found her backbone, complaining, "Dad, you're just in time. I want a divorce from this loser. Teach him a lesson." He looked smug, certain that I'd unconditionally stand by her side like before. Even the corners of Gu Yifan's mouth curled into a confident smile. I ignored him. First, I gave a slight nod to Shao-Chi, as an apology. Shao-Chi's body visibly stiffened, his eyes filled with wariness and confusion. The next second, I raised my hand and dealt a solid slap, smacking Gu Yifan right across the face with a loud crack. Thwack! That crisp sound of a slap froze the entire restaurant. Lin Mengyao froze in place, looking as if she had seen a ghost. Gu Yifan covered his face, the SOC in his eyes still lingering, completely dazed by the blow. I straightened my cuffs, ignoring her completely. Lin Mengyao snapped back and looked at me in disbelief. "Dad, you hit Yifan? Are you crazy?" I glanced at her flatly and said, "I find him a bit of an eyesore." My hand was itching. I ignored them further, took out my checkbook and pen from my pocket, scribbled some numbers, and slid it across the table toward Shao-Chi. The light in his eyes went completely dark the moment he saw that trek. I saw his clenched fists relax as the corners of his mouth curled into a self-deprecating arc. Right to him, this was just another form of humiliation. He pushed that lightweight trek back toward me, his voice soft but every word clear. "Chairman Lin, I'm poor. I haven't sunk low enough to sell my dignity." The anger on Lin Mengyao's face instantly turned into a mix of disdain. She leaned to Gu Yifan, muttering in a low voice, "Is my dad going crazy? If he wants him out, just do it. Why give him money? What a waste." I couldn't be bothered with her stupid remarks and just tapped the table with my knuckles. "This is 100 million for damages, and also pocket money. Spend it as you lie. When you run out, tell me." Lin Mengyao's eyes nearly popped out of her head. "What? 100 million? Dad, Why give him money? That's our family's money. Looking at her throwing a tantrum like that, she didn't look like a lady from a prominent family at all. So noisy, you just reminded me. I took my phone and called my assistant right in front of everyone, putting it on speaker. The call was answered instantly. Old Wang, starting now. Freeze all my daughter's cards. Debt, all of them. Don't leave her a single cent. Old Wang's crisp reply came from the other end. Understood, Chairman Lin. Lin Mangyao's pretty face was full of question marks. You froze my cards? That's right. I earned it. Why give it to you? Ignoring her bewildered expression, I pulled out the chair opposite Xiao Qi and sat down, and picked up the menu. Waiter, ordering. Meng Yao was in no mood to eat. She realized what happened after causing a huge scene in the restaurant. Seeing that I wasn't giving her any face at all, she angrily dragged Gu Yifan away with her. Before leaving, she hurled many harsh threats at Xiao Qi and even threatened to run away from home. What a joke! I'm a tycoon worth tens of billions. I'm so scared. I finished this expensive dinner all by myself. Xiao Qi opposite me hadn't touched a single bite. That 100 million trek lay quietly beside his hand. I wiped my mouth and left. Xiao Qi also stood up and followed behind me. In the parking lot, he finally couldn't help stepping forward to block me. Chairman Lin, I can't accept this. I glanced at the track. I didn't waste words, just pointed at the backseat of my Rolls-Royce. Get in. What? Some things are inconvenient to discuss here. Get in, we'll talk at home. I opened the door and looked at him firmly. Back at that mansion I'd been living in for months, I hadn't fully explored. I had the butler take him to the study, while I went to take a shower first. When I changed into comfortable loungewear and walked into the study, Xiao Qi was standing in front of the huge French windows, looking out at the garden outside, his back appearing lonely. He turned at my footsteps. He still had that unyielding, unflustered look. I went to the liquor cabinet, poured 2 whiskeys, and handed him one. He refused. I don't drink. Then learn to drink. You'll have plenty of social events later. I won't block drinks for you forever. I shoved the glass at him. He was even more dazed, not understanding my meaning. I didn't rush to explain, just walked over to the sofa and sat down. Lin Mengyao, that idiot, is making a fuss about divorcing you. What do you think? She just hasn't grown up yet. I almost burst out laughing. She's nearly 30 years old and hasn't grown up? A supersized baby? I remember last year, to secure a project, you were out socializing and drank until you vomited blood and ended up in the hospital. And Lin Mengyao, celebrating Gu Yifan's birthday, the proposal you spent all night on, appeared on his computer next day, becoming his way to win her favor. And even on your 3rd wedding anniversary, she left you alone at home. She went to a Myo Dike festival with him. With every sentence, Xiao Qi's expression darkened. I looked at him, speaking in a flat tone. For a man, you endure a lot. Xiao Qi lowered his gaze and pursed his lips in silence. Seeing him lie this, I couldn't help shaking my head, deliberately teasing him. Or is it lie what they say? Think I'm after your money? Xiao Qi's face finally showed some vivid emotion. I didn't. I'm messing with you. Your character, I know very well. That daughter of mine, what kind of piece of work she is. I know that very well. I waved, stood up, walked over to him, and patted his shoulder. To be honest, you've been wronged all these years. But do you really think she'll turn back and fall in love with you? Don't be stupid. A dog can't stop eating shit. She's not like that, Dad. Please don't say that about her. She's not the kind of person who takes the money you worked hard to earn to buy limited edition watches for another man. Or not the kind who finds you a bad omen when you're sick, and runs off on dates with some wild man? I interrupted him speechlessly. He was left completely speechless by my retort. I pulled out a divorce agreement from the safe under the cabinet, and pushed it over. Look, Xiao Qi picked up the agreement and flipped through it page by page. The more he read, the tighter his brows furrowed. Finally, with pursed lips, he silently placed the agreement back on the table. His gaze toward me returned to that familiar wariness and alienation. Right. In his eyes, I was just like that senile old fool from before, teaming up with my daughter to force him into a divorce. Just then, the study door was pushed open violently. Meng Yao was back. Ah, why are my cards frozen? I was paying at the counter and died of embarrassment. I rolled my eyes in my heart. Following behind her was that lingering ghost, Gu Yifan. Seeing Xiao Qi, she targeted him. Lin Mengyao immediately aimed her target at him. Oh, so it's you, Xiao Qi. Was it you? It must have been you whispering venom in my dad's ear, right? She stepped forward, pointed at his nose, and cursed. Why don't you look in the mirror and see what kind of trash you are? Is there a single thing you wear or use? He built everything through hard work. Everything he has now was built entirely through his own hard work. How do you compare to him in any way? You're just a good-for-nothing parasite living off a woman. Xiao Qi's expression turned even uglier instantly. His jawline locked tight. Gu Yifan, who walked in behind them, caught sight of the divorce agreement on the table at a glance, and immediately started fanning the flames on the side, sighing hypocritically. Mengyao, don't say that. Brother Xiao Qi probably just can't bear to part with the Lin family's wealth. Look, I told you he was just pretending not to want a divorce. So he finally agreed to let go. After all, once divorced, he'll be a complete nobody. I watched with great relish, my gaze involuntarily shifting to Xiao Qi. Wife messing with other men. Pre-divorce Xiao Qi really did look like a loser in the reader's eyes, yet he took it all submissively. The mistress's lover openly rubbing it in his face. Xiao Qi, silent, heard this, and finally raised his head. Right. Xiao Qi, who had been silent all this time, heard these words, but loud enough for everyone. Once divorced, I am a nobody. He swept his gaze over Gu Yifan, a sarcastic smile on his mouth. He paused, but I'm still a normal human. And a sarcastic smile curled the corner of his mouth. But at least I'm still a normal human being, and I wouldn't go seducing someone else's wife. The fake smile on Gu Yifan's face instantly froze. Xiao Qi, what nonsense is this? Yifan saw how pitiful I was, married to a loser. Why so filthy? Yifan just saw how pitiful I was, married to a loser, and was comforting me. Why is your mind so filthy? Standing like a wooden pot. This lead's combat power is lacking. Once they finished their performance, I sighed. This male lead's combat power is really lacking. Instigating a couple to divorce. I slowly began to speak. Then I pointed at Gu Yifan, a pretty boy seducing someone else's wife, constantly instigating a couple to divorce. What is his motive? You've disgraced the Lin family. An unfaithful, foolish idiot, cheating on her own husband, and bringing a wild man home to show off, sleeping in the same bed daily, and so filthy-minded. The two of you living in my apartment now. Lin Mengyao was stunned, as if I wouldn't know. Those shameless scumbags. Lin Mengyao was stunned. No one had ever spoken to her so harshly. She grabbed Mengyao's hand. After hearing what I said, Xiao Qi looked at Lin Mengyao and SOC. She grabbed Lin Mengyao's hand, like a drowning person grasping a straw, because of excessive agitation. Can't I find fun outside? So what if we lie together? You believe whatever he says? No fun at all in bed. Can't I find some fun outside? You said you were just friends. Xiao Qi's face turned pale. You believe whatever he says? If I said I'd eat shit, would you believe that too? After saying that, I felt something was off. He walked to the desk, picked up the agreement, and signed his name. Fine. Mengyao took the agreement. Fine, let's divorce. I agree. Lin Mengyao took the agreement, just glanced at it, leaving Xiao Qi with nothing, instantly turned into uncontainable joy. The terms were extremely favorable to her, and swiftly signed his name, without anyone urging him. He took a pen from his bag, and swiftly signed his name, joyfully planning their future in front of everyone. Yifan, that guest room he's living in now, maids will throw out his stuff tomorrow. You can move in, and his car keys are in the foyer. Take them and drive. Mengyao, is that appropriate? Yet his eyes flashed with greed. You two can't wait. I immediately interrupted Lin Mengyao's plans. Mengyao, think this through. If you divorce, both of you will have to move out of my place tonight. Fend for yourselves from now on. Don't think this pretty boy lives here. The smile on Lin Mengyao's face froze. Her deflated look was quite a sight. She quickly put on an arrogant expression, defiantly saying, Fine, let's leave. Anyway, with Yifan here, he'll give me a better life. Xiao Qi gave her one last deep look, then put pen to paper and signed. Lin Mengyao acted like shaking off trash, not wanting to stay another second. She haughtily linked arms with Gu Yifan and walked away without looking back. Xiao Qi stood in place, completely turned into a sunken sculpture. I didn't rush him. I pushed the trek and a file folder to him. Toward him. He raised his eyes, his gaze devoid of any light. Chairman Lin, the agreement says, I leave with nothing. He paused, his voice carrying a trace of self-mockery. I'm no longer the Lin's son-in-law. You don't need to pay me anymore. I know you, just like Lin Mengyao, have always looked down on me, thinking I'm a failure at life, right? He gave a bitter smile, an unresolvable sadness in his eyes. Seeing him looking so half-dead kind of annoyed me. Why is the sky falling over a divorce? Useless. I do look down on you, a man who spends all day pleasing women. That's what losers do. Money and power are a man's best youth. Once you reach the peak, what kind of women won't you have? By then, it'll be her. Lin Mengyao crying and begging for you to just look back at her. Xiao Qi's expression turned a bit odd. Looking at me, besides SOC, his eyes held a hint of speechlessness, probably never seeing a father so eager for his daughter to regret it. Besides, all you've done for the Lin Group. I've seen it all. You've been here for 3 years, starting from the bottom, leading 3 major technical projects, creating over 9 figures in profit. It's just that your credit was stolen. I saw his pupils suddenly constrict, looking at me in disbelief. Lin Tianchang, don't mix business/emotion. I'm giving you 100 million, not pity. It's because I value you. I value your ability. It's an investment. I stood up and walked to the cabinet, pouring another drink. Of course, it's also making up for my good-for-nothing daughter. To give you your final dignity. I handed him the glass to drink. From today on, forget Lin Mengyao. Forget being the Lin family's son-in-law. You are simply Xiao Qi, a potential stock I'm investing in. Xiao Qi's eye socket slowly turned red. He reached out a trembling hand, took the wine and drained it in one gulp. The spicy liquid slid down his throat, making him cough a few times, as if swallowing down all the grievances and resentment of the past 3 years. The next day, news came he moved out, clean and decisive, taking nothing from the Lin family. Lin Mengyao and Gu Yifan kept their word, getting out of my place. Naturally, with no money or cards, Lin Mengyao could only follow Gu Yifan, cramming into his small apartment. I was glad for the peace, reading financial news and fishing daily, waiting for my retirement plan to brew. About a month later, Assistant Lao Wang, reporting on work, casually mentioned, Chairman Lin, Gu Yifan has been active lately. He registered a tech company. Seems it's also in artificial intelligence. I raised an eyebrow. Oh. Where's the money? I heard Miss sold all her luxury goods under her name. Scraped together 20 or 30 million and dumped it all in. I nodded, showing I understood. No matter, fools reap what they sow. A few days later at an industry summit, I bumped into Gu Yifan, suited up, looking like a fraud, surrounded by several investors, bragging about his future AI project. Seeing me, his eyes lit up, immediately walking over with a glass. Uncle Lin, long time no see. He acted all innocent and harmless. The green tea stench was too much. Without missing a beat, he continued. I heard you recently invested in a small company called Chiming Tech, also doing AI? What a coincidence. Our Yifan Tech just secured its angel round, valued at 100 million. I wonder how Chiming Tech is doing. His gloating couldn't be hidden. I couldn't be bothered when just then, the summit host walked onto the stage. With an excited voice, distinguished guests. Next, let's welcome with our applause, the special guest of this summit, founder of Chiming Tech, Mr. Xiao Qi. He will be sharing with us how he managed in 2 short months to secure Tianqing Group's 5-year, 10 billion exclusive partnership agreement. Under the spotlight, Xiao Qi wore a well-fitted custom suit, calmly walking onto the stage. He was thinner than a month ago, but the exhaustion in his eyes was gone, replaced by a sharp, all-controlling confidence. Thunderous applause filled the hall. I held my wine glass and looked with interest at Gu Yifan. The glass in his hand dropped with a crack, shattering into pieces. Xiao Qi's speech was a success. No flashy rhetoric, just clear logic and precise forecasting of the industry's future. Even a reader like me with God's view couldn't help wanting to applaud. After the speech, he was the center. Countless people stepped forward, wanting to get closer to him. Investors who used to fawn over Gu Yifan. Gu Yifan stood alone in a corner, his face ashen, like someone stripped naked in public, watching his stray dog appearance. I gleefully took a sip of wine. Shao Qi spotted me in the crowd. He politely nodded to those people and walked straight toward me. Chairman Lin. He stood before me, his eyes clear. Well done. I patted him on the shoulder. Before he could speak, an untimely figure squeezed through and grabbed his arm. With an intimate posture, Lin Mengyao. She had popped up from nowhere, wearing exquisite makeup. The moment she spoke, her voice dripped with sweetness. Darling, you were amazing. That darling made the room quiet down. Everyone's gaze burned with gossip, sweeping between the three of us. Did I hear that right? Wasn't the Lin family heiress making a fuss to divorce Shao Qi earlier, calling him good for nothing? Now that he's successful, she's clinging on again. Where was this vision before? Leaving such a bright pearl to go pick up stones instead. Truly blind. Shao Qi's brows instantly locked, and unceremoniously pulled his arm out. His tone detached and icy. Miss Lin, please show some self-respect. The smile on her face stiffened, but she immediately bounced back, acting like she didn't understand. She turned to me and acted spoiled, with a hint of grievance in her tone. Dad, look at him. We just had a little quarrel. Why aren't you helping your daughter persuade him? I glanced at her and snorted. A quarrel that lands you in another's bed? Just as those words fell, Gu Yifan squeezed over with two glasses. Wearing his peacemaker face, he handed a glass to Shao Qi. Brother Shao, congratulations. Come to think of it, your Qiming tech must have borrowed inspiration from our Yifan tech, right? Since you succeeded, we brothers are hep pie for you. One acting dumb, the other framing and slandering. Their teamwork is truly seamless. As I was about to blow, Shao Qi stopped me. Looking at Gu Yifan, he said slowly, "Oh, thanks. What a coincidence. I heard President Li from Tianqing say a company called Yifan Tech approached him, wanting a partnership." He paused. Amidst Gu Yifan's rigid expression, he nonchalantly added, President Li said. That proposal looked like an elementary schooler's summer homework. Utter nonsense, he even asked me. What blind company is this, daring to copy us, President Gu? Shao Qi raised his glass in a toast, a cold arc curling at his lips. Talk about coincidence, huh? Gu Yifan's face flushed crimson. Lin Mengyao showed a trace of panic, and I felt immensely gratified. Protagonist, you've grown a spine. Seeing buddying didn't work. Lin Mengyao immediately switched faces and looked at me with a sour tone. You really are biased. Investing 100 million in him and now helping him network. Even your own biological daughter doesn't get that treatment. Gu Yifan hurriedly shifted the topic, chiming in, yeah, Uncle Lin, Mengyao is your daughter after all. Doing this is too chilling for her. Looking at this pair of singing double-act scumbags, my inner eye rolling nearly reached the heavens. Isn't it because she has no money? The pampered socialite she was, without my cards, dipping into her stash to feed a gigolo. Now seeing Shao Qi achieve success, she's feeling unbalanced, aren't you? I couldn't be bothered with them. My tone was blunt and cold. I told you before, once divorced, you two are on your own. I gestured at Shao Qi. Everything Shao Qi achieved today, he earned with his own merit. And you? I looked him up and down, then glanced at Gu Yifan beside him. A mocking smirk curved my lips. Living off a man, and a totally useless one at that. Gu Yifan's expression turned ugly. Lin Mengyao was left speechless. Her pretty face turned pale, thinking of Shao Qi adored by all. And looking at the grim Gu Yifan, she could only stubbornly retort. Yifan just suffered a setback. He's way more talented than Shao Qi. With that, she dragged Gu Yifan out through the crowd without looking back. That retreating figure looked thoroughly panicked and pathetic. After that summit, Qiming Tech soared to success. Meanwhile, Yifan Tech was exposed for plagiarizing Qiming Tech, lacking any technological highlights. It quickly became the industry's joke. Their capital chain was also on the verge of collapsing. Gu Yifan wouldn't give up. He started resorting to dirty tricks. First, he tried poaching core staff. When I found out, I directly transferred 500 million to Shao Qi's Otsao. What's this for? Shao Qi sounded somewhat puzzled. Bonuses for your employees. I kept it brief. The next day, Chiming announced a talent incentive plan. Core employees' salaries tripled. Cars, houses, and stock were handed out. As soon as the news broke, Gu Yifan failed to poach anyone. Instead, from his own company, the only talented technician carried his computer overnight and defected to Shaoqi. Gu Yifan almost coughed up blood. With Lin Mengyao following him, life naturally became harder and harder for her. She used to drive luxury cars. Now she had to take the subway. She used to buy designer bags. Now she gazed at windows with envy. She started calling me frequently. Every conversation was just crying about being broke, hoping I would unfreeze her cards. My reply was always, sure, as long as you dump that gigolo, and kneel down to apologize to Shaoqi. Whenever Shaoqi forgives you, that's when cards will be unfrozen. Every time, it resulted in her scolding me for being a heartless dad, trying to tear apart their lop. True lop? It was written plain as day in the book. Gu Yifan, that useless gigolo, was after the Lin family's money from start to finish. Once he realized he couldn't squeeze any more oil from Lin Mengyao, his next step would be kidnapping. Why couldn't this idiot see it? Finally, on a heavy rainy night, they appeared at my villa's doorstep. Both were soaked to the bone. They looked utterly pathetic. The moment Lin Mengyao saw me, her eyes reddened. Yifan's company is about to collapse. Please help him. Gu Yifan chimed in, Chairman Lin, Dad, it doesn't matter what happens to me, but Mengyao shouldn't suffer. Just give me one more fund, and I'll build the company up. And surpass Shaoqi. I watched them, feeling like I was looking at clowns. I smiled. Do you know how much Chiming Tech Series evaluation is? Both of them froze. I held up 5 fingers. 5 billion. Lin Mengyao and Gu Yifan's faces instantly drained of color. The figure of 5 billion was like a massive mountain, leaving them breathless. Lin Mengyao looked at me, panic and regret flashing in her eyes for the very first time. When one plan failed, Gu hatched another. He actually coaxed Lin Mengyao into sneaking home to steal my business secrets, hoping to short-sell Shaoqi's company in the capital market. Watching my foolish daughter on the surveillance footage, acting like a thief, ransacking my study, and finally taking a core confidential document I purposely left there, leaving with a smug smile, made my headache even worse. I directly sent the surveillance footage to Shaoqi. Shaoqi, play along, understand? Understood. Understood, Chairman Lin. So on an ordinary Monday, Gu Yifan teamed up with a few clueless external investors, armed with his so-called insider info, aggressively began shorting Chiming Tech. In less than an hour, under our joint operation, all short-selling capital was liquidated. They lost every last penny. Gu lost everything he swindled, along with whatever money Lin Mengyao raised by selling her bags and jewelry, wiped out completely, and he was left drowning in debt. I found out about his bankruptcy from financial news headlines. The headline was brutally sarcastic. The fall of a genius, from clown to bankrupt. It took him only a month. I clicked on it with interest and read it. It was a thrilling read, detailing how Gu Yifan clung to Shaoqi, how he was publicly slapped, and how his suicidal capital play led to his downfall, written clearly. The calm men's section was legendary. LMAO, this bro understands business. How to lose money. Don't bash him. At least he made the Lin heiress sell all her Hermes bags for him. Top-tier tech scammer, right? Isn't Lin Tiancheng too ruthless? She's his biological daughter, leaving no way out for her. I pity Lin Mengyao. Rejecting a bachelor to stick with a plague god. Look now, bags gone, money gone. What do you idiots know? This is called knocking sense into an airhead like Lin Mengyao. If she doesn't suffer, how can she take over the Lin group in the future? Get real. With her IQ, if the group was handed to her, she'd be eaten alive by those old foxes in under 3 years. Lin Tiancheng gave up on her. Insider info. I heard Lin Tiancheng has an illegitimate son abroad. This move is obviously paving the way for his return. You guys lack vision. In my view, Lin Tiancheng is trying to wake his daughter up, and also to temper Shaoqi. See how badass Shaoqi is now? This is true imperial statecraft. I read it with great relish, and liked the last comment. At least some people are smart. Assistant Lao Wang handed me a file. Chairman Lin, this is the detailed profile on Mr. Shaoqi you requested. I nodded. The file wasn't thick, just a few pages. The orphan's first 20 years. Growing up, studying diligently, relying on scholarships and work study to make it through a prestigious university. After graduation, he entered the Lin Corporation from the very bottom, outstanding in ability, but because of his upright personality and not knowing how to cozy up, he was constantly given a hard time. Later, he was spotted by my blind and foolish predecessor, thinking it was a lucky break, only to jump into a fire pit. Attached to the end of the file were a few photos. One was a group photo from his childhood at the orphanage, wearing ill-fitting clothes, skinny as a bean sprout, but his eyes were bright, staring stubbornly at the camera. Another was taken at his college graduation, standing alone in a graduation gown at the school gate, smiling somewhat foolishly. I rubbed my chin as I looked at these photos. Morally upright and resilient. He looks decent too. Most importantly, a sharp brain, unlike my idiot daughter. Prime material for a successor. Yet another rainy night, lightning and wind howling fiercely. Just as I was getting ready to rest, Lao Wang hurried in. Chairman Lin, Mr. Xiao hasn't gone to the company all day today. I frowned. What's wrong? Today is his birthday. It seems every year on his birthday, he locks himself up at home for the entire day. Lao Wang paused, then added, he couldn't find any information on his biological parents, only knowing he was left at the orphanage gates on this exact day. I stood up, putting down the files. The apartment where Xiao Qi lived was a gift from me. I unlocked the door with my fingerprint and walked in. The living room was pitch black. Only by the floor-to-ceiling window, aided by the lightning, could I see him on the sofa. He was hugging his knees, radiating absolute dejection. Empty wine bottles were scattered all over the floor. I walked over without turning on the lights, took a bottle of whiskey from the nearby wine cabinet, sat down beside him, and started drinking alone. He didn't notice at all, remaining completely still. I didn't speak either, just keeping him company as I drank. After a long while, he spoke in an extremely low and hoarse voice, as if to himself. Tell me, why didn't they want me back then? Was there something wrong with me? Now that I've grown up and can make money, why are they still unwilling to come find me? I sighed inwardly. A lack of care in youth leaves a person with extreme insecurity, which later evolves into self-pua until they feel completely unworthy. That's why he fell for that toxic woman's manipulation and was belittled into nothingness. I didn't offer any bullshit comfort lie you're great, they just have bad taste. I simply took a swig of alcohol and patted his shoulder. Why waste time on useless things? Can thinking of them help you? Or help you sign a contract? Instead of wallowing in pity, you'd better figure out how to take the company public. When the IPO bell rings, make the whole world know how awesome you, Xiao Qi, are. Xiao Qi. By then, they'll be crying and begging you to let them trace their roots. Xiao Qi turned his head, looking at me in the dim light, his gaze complex. I passed the wine bottle in my hand, clinked it, and stood up. Then yanked him off the sofa. He looked at me uncomprehendingly. Let's go. Where? To the company. I looked down at him, my tone full of grievance. Do you have any idea how much loss your absence today causes me? Get back to work right now, and make up for today's missed hours. Xiao Qi's expression froze for a split second, then turned indescribable. A mixed bag of, I knew it, figures. Capitalists are the root of evil. I walked to the entryway, my hand already resting on the door handle, when I remembered something, and without turning back, I said, oh, right, happy birthday. Since that night, Xiao Qi seemed like an entirely changed person. He became busier and harder. Under his leadership, Ximing Tech marched forward triumphantly, becoming the most dazzling rising star in the industry. I took advantage of the momentum, periodically packaging Lin family assets and dumping them to Xiao Qi to manage. Days grew increasingly leisurely. Time flew by fast, and in the blink of an eye, it was the end of the year. Today, I was leisurely pruning my prized roses at home, when Lao Wang hurried over with an anxious look. Chairman Lin, something happened. I snipped off a rose in full bloom, and without raising my head, asked, what? Miss has been kidnapped. The scissors in my hand paused. Gu Yifan? Are those two just acting? This doesn't look like an act. Lao Wang's expression was very solemn. The kidnappers sent a message. They want $1 billion ransom. No police, or they'll kill her. I put down the scissors, looked at the delicate rose, and fell into thought. Reached this plot point. According to the original novel's timeline, this shouldn't happen yet. Looks like my arrival accelerated the plot quite a bit. Honestly, I'm quite excited. I took out my phone and dialed Xiaoqi's number. The other end was somewhat noisy. He was in a meeting. Xiaoqi, Meng Yao was kidnapped. I kept it brief. The other end of the line instantly went silent. After a few seconds, Xiaoqi's calm voice came through. Address. I sent him the address and hung up. Lao Wang worried. Chairman Lin, should we really just let Mr. Xiao go alone? What if? Nonsense. At a time like this, of course we let the male lead flex first. Call the police, I cut him off. And dispatch all my people as well. Surround that abandoned factory. Don't let a single fly escape. I looked out the window. The sky gradually grew dark. The factory was dimly lit, smelling of rust and dust. Lin Mengyao was tied up, her mouth taped, trembling all over. She looked at the man before her, eyes bloodshot from gambling and bankruptcy. With a ferocious look, her eyes were filled with terror. Yifan, look at me. I'm Meng Yao. Didn't you say you loved me the most? Lop me? Gu Yifan acted as if he'd heard the biggest joke. Lin Meng Yao, why don't you look in the mirror? Besides that face and the Lin family background, what do you have? I never loved an idiot like you. I just wanted to use you to climb up the Lin family. You were so useless, kicked out by that old man. I'm telling you, if your damn father hadn't refused to give me money, would I be pushed to this? He grabbed her chin viciously. This is your father's fault. Along with that loser Xiaoqi, forced me into. You lied to me. Tears streamed down Lin Mengyao's face. Lying to you? She took out her phone and dialed my number, putting it on speaker. Let's see if your dad cares about you. Lin Tianchang, is money ready? 1 billion, not a penny less. Or collect your daughter's corpse. I can give you the money, but I need to confirm my daughter's safety first. Gu Yifan brought the phone close to Lin Mengyao's mouth. Dad, save me. He's going to kill me. Gu Yifan smiled triumphantly. Right then, the factory door slammed open. From a kick outside, Xiaoqi stood alone at the door against the light. Let her go. Gu Yifan was startled at first seeing Xiaoqi, then burst into laughter. Xiaoqi, your woman has been ruined by me, and you actually came to save her? Ha ha ha, you're more pathetic than I thought. He drew a cold, gleaming dagger from behind, and pressed it against Lin Mengyao's neck. Don't come closer, or I'll kill her. Xiaoqi stopped in his tracks, glaring coldly. Gu Yifan, all you want is money. Kidnapping is a felony. You'll spend your life in jail. Let her go and I can give you some money to go abroad. Save it. You think I'd believe you? Since you walked into this trap, both of you will die today. With that, the dagger in his hand slashed fiercely toward Lin Mengyao's neck. Terrified, she closed her eyes and let out a scream. Xiaoqi's pupils constricted with no time to think. He grabbed an abandoned iron drum nearby and hurled it at Gu Yifan with all his might. Bang! The iron drum hit Gu Yifan's shoulder, throwing off the dagger in his hand by an inch, barely grazing Lin Mengyao's cheek and leaving a bloody scratch. Stunned by the pain, Gu Yifan grew enraged. He picked up a steel pipe from the ground and frantically smashed it toward Xiaoqi's head. Xiaoqi sidestepped to dodge, but couldn't completely avoid the steel pipe, slamming into his left arm. With a dull thud, he let out a grunt, sweat beading on his forehead. He didn't retreat. Enduring pain, he charged forward, grabbed Gu Yifan by the waist, and slammed him down. The two tumbled together. Almost simultaneously, the doors and windows around the factory burst open, and countless police officers swarmed in. Gu Yifan was handcuffed, screaming like a madman. When I reached the hospital, Xiaoqi's arm was in a cast. Lin Mengyao sat beside his hospital bed, her eyes red and swollen. The scratch on her face looked quite startling. Seeing me, he seemed to have found his backbone and immediately stood up. I ignored him, walking to Xiaoqi. How are you? Hairline fracture, minor issue. His complexion was pale, but he looked all right overall. I nodded, took a document from my assistant, and tossed it at the lawyer. Gu Yifan was arrested on the spot with conclusive kidnapping evidence, yet the lawyer he hired actually had the nerve to come to the hospital, asking us to issue a settlement letter to reduce his sentence. These are all pieces of evidence of Gu Yifan's embezzlement, commercial fraud, and overseas money laundering. Tell him to spend the rest of his life sewing clothes in prison. The lawyer opened the document bag skeptically, pulling out a few pages. The more he read, the more sweat broke out on his forehead, his expression growing grim. Finally, he closed the files, let out a long sigh, and bowed to me once more. "Chairman Lin, excuse me." He respectfully pushed the document bag back, then turned and left without looking back, without a word of defense. "Are you kidding? Getting paid to work is fine. Getting paid to die is not." After handling chores, I finally turned my gaze toward Lin Mengyao. She looked at me, lips moving, wanting to speak but not daring. I knew what she wanted. Nothing but sorry and thanks. But pride held her back from speaking. Seeing her lie that, I sighed inwardly. "All right, come home with me. Let Xiaoqi get some good rest." Since the kidnapping, Lin Mengyao seemed like a completely different person. She stopped wearing makeup, buying luxury goods, or making a fuss about going out. She stayed quietly at home every day, occasionally going to the hospital to bring soup to Xiaoqi, though Xiaoqi never drank a single drop. She called me frantically, asking about his preferences, inquiring about Qiming Technology's latest status, and even running over to beg me to unfreeze her cards, saying she wanted to buy gifts to apologize to Xiaoqi. Hearing this on the phone, I shook my head helplessly. Why is this girl not getting it? Lin Mengyao, do you think Xiaoqi, now worth tens of billions, care about your little gifts? She was left speechless by my question, and tears fell again. Looking at her, I only felt a sense of pity. If you knew this would happen, why act like that back then? Days flew by, and in the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Gu Yifan got life imprisonment for multiple crimes, with no hope of release. Meanwhile, Xiaoqi's Qiming Tech had become the absolute titan of the domestic AI field. Market value over 100 billion. Today was the Lin Group's annual gala, and also the day I planned to announce my retirement. Lin Mengyao came too. Dressed appropriately, she sat quietly in the corner, her gaze fixed on that high-spirited man on stage. I knew she was still holding onto a final sliver of hope, thinking if she regained my trust and the Lin Group, she'd stand beside Xiaoqi again. I walked up to the stage and picked up the mic. All the lights in the venue focused on me. I thanked the guests, then got to the point. Today, I have two things to announce here. First, I, Lin Tiancheng, am officially retiring as of today. Gasps filled the hall. I saw Lin Mengyao's eyes instantly light up, her back straightening. I smiled and continued. Second, I paused, sweeping across the crowd, and finally landing on Xiaoqi down below. I, Lin Tiancheng, having no sons, have always felt regret, but now I do. I reached my hand toward him. Starting today, the Lin Group will be taken over by my adopted son, Xiaoqi. The spotlight shifted to Xiaoqi. He stood up, looking bewildered, looking at me and the room, wondering if I called the wrong name. He looked like a confused landlord's son. Meanwhile, in the corner, Lin Mengyao looked drained of strength. She slumped into her chair, completely soul-deprived. After the gala ended, I was relaxing and drinking tea backstage when Lin Mengyao entered. To my surprise, she didn't cry or throw a tantrum. She looked at me quietly, though her eyes were red. They were very bright. "Dad," she started. Her voice was calm. "I understand now." I raised an eyebrow, waiting for her to continue. "I finally understand what I threw away. Don't scold me." She took a breath, her eyes rekindling a long-lost pride of the Lin family. "I won't beg you anymore, nor will I go looking for Xiaoqi. Starting today, I'm leaving to rely on myself. One day, I will stand before you again. Not as Lin Tiancheng's daughter, nor as Xiaoqi's ex-wife, but simply as Lin Mengyao herself." I stared for a few seconds, then chuckled. "That's the spirit." I pulled a black card from my pocket and handed it over. "Take this, Dad's sponsorship." She shook her head and refused. "Really?" I teased playfully. "Starting a business outside is very tough. You know, you'll starve without money." She laughed despite herself and rolled her eyes at me for the first time. "No need." Watching her leave, with her back held straight, I smiled with relief. Sigh, my silly daughter finally seems to have grown up just a tiny bit. Later, Lin Mengyao made a name for herself in fashion. I finally lived my dream retirement, spending every day either fishing or scrolling through short videos. Today, on my private island, Happily enjoying a piece of a 5 Wagyu for dinner, a 6DO call popped up. It was Xiao-Chi on 6DO. He looked at the marbled, nicely textured Wagyu before me and frowned deeply. Dad, you're sneaking food again. The doctor said your cholesterol is high. Don't eat greasy stuff. And stop watching videos all day. It's bad for your eyes. The knife in my hand froze, my eyes full of disbelief. Yesterday I wanted to play golf. You had old wine take my clubs, saying you were worried I'd sprain my back. Now even letting me eat a piece of meat or watching videos is policed? I'm here on vacation, not serving a prison sentence. Dad, health is the foundation. If you fall down, who am I supposed to find to clean up your mess? You brat, getting bolder these days. Learning to talk back limey. Can't help it. Who asked me to be stuck with a capitalist lie you? My assistant handed me a letter. It was sent by Lin Mengyao from Milan Fashion Week. Inside was a confident and composed photo of her backstage at the show. A few lines were written back. Dad, don't worry. P.S. Xiao-Chi's new suit was made by me. I smiled, laid the letter aside, and looked at the kid in the 6DO lecturing me all seriously. The sun was right, the breeze gentle. Wonderful. Everyone has a bright future.